Conservation plans are things you do for listed buildings. Occasionally you do them for a building that's not listed, but almost always they're listed buildings. So they have, they're privately owned, but they're part of the national heritage, so they have legislative protection. And that can cause a problem if you want to change the building and modernise it, bring it up to date. And a conservation plan is useful when you have that potential conflict between the heritage and the need for modernisation. And Cambridge Architectural Research have been doing these since 1999. We did our first for the Fitzwilliam Museum in Cambridge, where they had frustration in being unable to get planning consent for extensions. They needed extensions and they couldn't get consent. And we were brought in as part of the process of finding, well, you could say compromise or consensus, a consensus view on how the museum could develop without ruining its heritage.
Fitzwilliam is quite interesting because it was the first conservation plan where we were asked to return and update the plan, and that one of the reasons for updating it was because they had secured the funding and carried out a major alteration and created a courtyard gallery. And we went back and we reviewed all of the spaces very accurately and recorded how things had changed. But we also had the opportunity to discuss with the steering group how issues had changed and how pressures for change on the building had varied. And now we're here in Newhall, which was the first conservation plan we did for a modern listed building.
Grade 2 star, which is a higher grade of listing, even though it's barely 50 years old. That creates quite a conflict because the building is slightly unfashionable and slightly run down, and yet it's listed, so how do you modernise it? That had come to a sort of a head, and at that point Cambridge Architectural Research were brought in to do a conservation plan for the college to try to identify the conflicting issues and how to reconcile the conflicting issues so that the college could move forward and modernise itself without destroying its remarkable architectural heritage. And that happened, we did it, the plan was done. And they did their modernisation. Everywhere you look, the little new things that have come in, but the basic character has been kept, and it was a successful project.
In the dining hall, there were quite a few issues that we covered. There was concerns about health and safety, but it had very bad acoustics and it was very cold, and it had reached the point where they really needed to do some major maintenance work, and it was how far that they could incorporate upgrading the thermal efficiency of the building but not lose the important character that's in that space.
CAR conservation plans are definitely meant to be working documents. They're not academic documents. They're definitely there to be practical and useful.
One of the good benefits of doing a conservation plan for any organisation is that many people within that organisation actually have a say and about what's important about the building. So at the National Maritime Museum, we're interviewing the curators, we're interviewing the people doing the exhibitions, we've interviewed the maintenance staff, and all of them have a different view about the good points and the bad points about the building. So when they have an opportunity to redo a gallery or improve the thermal efficiency, they'll be able to use the document and get guidance about what is appropriate and what isn't appropriate, and then they will be able to make the right application for listed building consent, and hopefully if they followed the guidelines within the document, they'll get approval.